Hello friends, this is the second video of modern Indian history. This video gives an outline and perspective of modern Indian history. I hope you would have watched my first video in outline and perspective of modern Indian history. You know, in the first video what we have done is we have covered from 1707 to 1857, this period, one small outline we had given. And in this video, we are going to cover from 1857 to 1927, which is considered to be a crucial part in studying modern Indian history. What happened in the year 1857? In the year 1857, what happened was a great event of great significance, not only in the time of 1857, for the history also, which happened, an event of great significance, which happens to be the first war of Indian independence. The first war of Indian independence, or as the British would suggest, as merely a sepoy mutiny of 1857, or simply called by the historians as the revolt of 1857. Whatever may be the name given to this, it is a very important event which happened in the year 1857, and I have done a separate video on the revolt of 1857. Please watch that video for understanding the causes and the consequences of the revolt of 1857. Here I am just saying that the policies of Dalhousie, which I have discussed already, the policies of Dalhousie and the policies of Canning, the policies of these two governor generals over a period of time, and the long pending grievances of the different sections of the society starting from 1750s, long pending grievances, and the immediate policies of Dalhousie and Canning, all were responsible for creating a condition which necessitated the Indians or the sepoys to revolt. It cannot be simply called or merely called as a sepoy mutiny or sepoy revolt, because within a short duration of time, major sections of the society or majority sections of the society, they had participated in the revolt of 1857. So it is a great event, you must know, and the spark for the revolt of 1857 happens to be the introduction of the greased cartridge, which I have already spoken. So sufficient to know that in 1857 a great event had happened. But you must know, within a short duration of time, the revolt of 1857 had been defeated by the British. Again, the British tried to create a new establishment in India, and these are referred as changes introduced after 1857. Changes introduced by the British after 1857. In the year 1858, they introduced these changes, and Act of 1858. This act is called as Act of Better Government, 1858. And in this 1858, larger changes were introduced in India by the British, but these changes were cosmetic in nature, because even before 1858, what exploitation continued in an open manner, after 1858, the same exploitation continued, but in a covered manner it continued. So I would say that the changes introduced in 1858 were largely cosmetic in nature. We will discuss about the changes, what happened in separate classes we will do. Sufficient to know that these changes in 1858 created new set of problems in India, and over a period of time, starting from 1858 to 1885, there existed a condition, and this condition was responsible for creating something which is called nationalism or emergence of nationalism in India. So nationalism in India had begun to gain momentum, had begun to gain strength in the year 1885, and the 30 years were highly important. Why I will speak about this? And in the year 1885, as a result of the emergence of nationalism, Indian National Congress had been founded. 1885, as an organization, Indian National Congress was founded in the year 1885. But Indian National Congress, you must know, is a political awakening. It is a political awakening of the Indians to fight or to ask for their rights against the British. But this political awakening needed something or should have preceded a social awakening. So a social awakening which was existing, you must know, the foundation of the Indian National Congress in 1885 is a political awakening, but what preceded happens to be a social awakening which happened preceding 1885. The social awakening had been happening in the 19th century, starting from, you must know, 1800s to 1900s. in the 19th century. So the 19th century in India is called the India of socio-religious reform movement. It is called reform movement, sometimes it is called revival movement. Some movements are called as reform movements, some movements are called revival movements. What is the difference between reform and revival? We'll do in a separate class, but sufficient to know that there were many movements which are reform movements and revival movements. And you should know that a large amount of or a large number of movements had happened, not only in Hindu, in also Islam, in Parsi, in Sikh, in every religion these reform movements had happened. Just to mention these reform movements, some of the reform movements, we all know a reform movement which is called Diorasi movement. Diorasio movement. Diorasio movement happens to be the first of the great movement. Diorasio movement happens to be the first of the great movement started by a person who is called Henry Vivian Diorasi. After this Diorasi movement, which is started in 1810s, we have some movement which is called Brahma Samaj. Brahma Samaj. Brahma Samaj was founded in the year 1828 by a person Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Raja Ram Mohan Roy started this movement which is called Brahma Samaj, and after this we have some other movements which is called Arya Samaj. Arya Samaj. And Arya Samaj was founded by a person who is called Dayananda Saraswati. So Dayananda Saraswati founded Arya Samaj in the year 1875, and that is also a very important movement. Then what follows happens to be something which is called Ramakrishna Mission. Ramakrishna Mission was founded by Swami Vivekananda. That is another reform movement which was founded. Then we have something which is called Theosophical Society. Theosophical Society. Theosophical Society was founded in America in the year 1875 by Blavatsky and Alcott. By Blavatsky and Alcott. Theosophical Society was founded, but in India this movement was taken to a great height by a woman who is called Annie Besant. So this Theosophical Society is also an important movement, socio-religious reform movement, and also simultaneously we have some other movement, for example Deoband movement, which is an Islamic movement. Deoband movement, we have Aligarh movement. Aligarh movement we have. Then over a period of time we have different movements which is called Parsi Reform Association. Parsi Reform Association we have, which is in the Parsi. Then we have something which is called Singh Sabha. This is also a Sikh reform movement. Like this, n number of movements had happened in the 19th century. Sometimes historians call the 19th century as the century of socio-religious reform movement. So this socio-religious reform movement was responsible for creating a political awakening and emergence of nationalism. As a result, in the year 1885, Indian National Congress was founded. The foundation of the Indian National Congress is a very important movement, because after the foundation of the Indian National Congress, the national movement had begun to gain its momentum, and Indian National Congress was founded in 1885. What are the presidents? Who are the president? What are the sessions? Which are the years? The years, sessions, presidents of the important Indian National Congress sessions I have all done in a class in a separate video. I have already uploaded it. It is very easy. Just by seeing the video you can easily remember close to 20 sessions and the presidents. Please watch the video which I have already uploaded. But in the Indian National Congress in the year 1885, it was divided. Indian National Congress, inside the Indian National Congress, the leaders were divided into moderate leaders and extremist leaders. And the policies of moderate leaders, the understanding of the moderate leaders and the understanding of the extremist leaders, they were different. Moderate leaders believed in some aspects about the British. Extremist leaders believed in some aspects about the British. And the most important extremist leaders happens to be Bal, Pal, Lal and Aurobindo. And many other leaders we can name. And Bal means Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Pal means Bipin Chandra Pal, Lal means Lala Lajpat Rai, Aurobindo means Aurobindo Ghosh, which I am speaking. So all these leaders, they were called as extremists. We can add some more leader names to this list, but most of the leaders happens to be moderates, and there is a clear perceptual differences between moderate leaders and the extremist leaders about the British. So it often led to a mutual conflict amongst them. And what happens, this mutual conflict continues for a longer duration of time. It leads to certain untoward incident and it leads to certain consequences which we will discuss later, but sufficient to know that this is a very important event. Next we have something which is called 1900s. In the 1900s you must know one important Governor General or Viceroy who happens to be Curzon. He comes to India. Curzon is a reactionary Governor General, and the policies of Curzon largely created an anger amongst the Indians against the British. He was a reactionary Governor General, he was a racist Governor General as some of the historians say, and he created certain reforms. All these reforms angered the Indians, and the most important thing which Curzon did, which was responsible for rising of a great movement in the first of the great movement in the 20th century, happens to be partitioning of Bengal. Bengal was partitioned in the year 1905. The partitioning of Bengal was done in a very hasty manner without listening to the opinion or consensus of the Indians, and the reason behind why Bengal was partitioned, what are the factors, that we will do in a separate class. But the partitioning of Bengal had happened in the 1905. After the partitioning of Bengal, something which is called Swadeshi and boycott movements happened by the Indians. Indians did a movement which is called boycott of foreign goods, all the commodities associated with foreign and the British, and Swadeshi is self-reliance. In the place of boycott, we have introduced something which is called a Swadeshi. So the partitioning of Bengal, Swadeshi movement, boycott movement was a great success, one of the first movements in India where women participated in large number. It is a very, very important movement. Then after this Swadeshi boycott movement in 1905, then in 1906 we have another confusion between the moderate leaders and the extremist leaders about the movement which had happened, which is called anti-boycott or anti-partitioning movement. The anti-partitioning movement had largely created a confusion between the moderates and the extremists, because they also differed in their perception, they also differed in the strategies to be followed in opposing the British. Just sufficient to say one small point: moderates wanted a boycott which is limited in nature, extremists wanted a boycott which is extensive in nature. So like this, many differences existed between the moderates and extremists. So these differences came to open in the year 1907 in the Congress session which is called Surat. In the Surat session, the fight between the moderates and the extremists came to open, and it led to a split between the moderates and extremists. So the moderate extremists, they splitted in the year 1907 in Surat, and after the split of the Congress between the moderates and extremists, what happened was there was a weakening of the national movement which had started in 1905. The weakening of the national movement had created an environment for the rise of, you must know, aggressive nationalism, or we can simply say as revolutionary terrorism. Emergence of revolutionary terrorism, phase 1. Phase 1 had happened in India because it is during this time the youth who participated in this 1905 movement, the anti-partitioning of Bengal movement, the youth who participated, they were having energy, but the leaders were not present, because you must know after the Surat split, the leaders they had left. Most of the leaders had retired from politics, some of the leaders had gone to abroad. So there was a political level, leadership level vacuum which existed. So the youth who had energy were left with no other option but to take their strategy in their own hands, which ultimately led to the emergence of revolutionary terrorism. I am calling this phase 1 because the same scenario emerged in 1920s, which led to the emergence of revolutionary terrorism, phase 2 also. Revolutionary terrorism, phase 2. Anyhow, this happened, and you all know in 1908, as a result of this revolutionary terrorism, we have something which is called Muzaffarpur case, or Kingford case, or Kennedy murder case. So Muzaffarpur case, Kingford case, Kennedy murder case, etc. Different events which has happened in this revolutionary terrorism cases. Then we have gradually over a period of time in 1911, the partitioning of Bengal was annulled. That means Bengal, which was partitioned, was again put together, and in the year 1912, we all know capital of India was shifted from Calcutta to again Delhi. It was shifted. These events happened, and in the year 1913, another important event happened, which is called the foundation of a movement in foreign country, which is called Ghadar. Ghadar movement, or Ghadar party as it is simply called. This Ghadar movement gained momentum in the foreign country, and it created certain points, it created certain aspects in India. The Ghadarites were largely willing to start a revolt like 1857 in the year 1915. The Ghadarites were interested in creating a revolt like scenario in India as it happened in 1857. In 1915 they wanted to create, but they could not succeed because of a variety number of reasons. So 1913 the Ghadar party and the issues they came up, and in 1914 we all know World War I began, and it also created further consequences in India, complications in India. 1914 World War I emerged, and you must know in 1940 along with the World War there is a name which you have to remember, which is called Komagatta Maru. Komagatta Maru. Komagatta Maru is the name of a ship, and it created the ship. The name is very important, you please remember, because we will speak about the issue later. Komagatta Maru incident in 1914, and afterwards in 1915 will come. In 1915 we all know Gandhi returns from South Africa. What Gandhi did in South Africa, what were the conditions which forced Gandhi? Separate Gandhi we will do many number of classes, lot number of classes we will do about Gandhi. Later we will do this. Sufficient to know that Gandhi, who had gone to South Africa and had returned in 1915, afterwards Gandhi begins to take part in the national movement. But in 1960 you please understand, the Congress, which is divided into moderates plus extremists, they unite. This is called moderate extremist unity in a place which is called Lucknow. Lucknow session, the moderates and extremists unite, and the president happens to be A.C. Majumdar. So A.C. Majumdar was the president who was existing. So moderate and extremists, they united. Not only the moderates and extremists united, you must know Congress plus Muslim League, they also united. The Congress Muslim League also they got united in 1916 in order to work together. This is also very important event which happened in Lucknow. This question had already been asked in the preliminary. You have to understand Lucknow unity, Lucknow pact. Lucknow unity is a unity between moderates and extremists. Lucknow pact is a pact signed between Congress and the Muslim League. This event happened. Simultaneously in 1916 another event happened which is called Home Rule Movement. Home Rule Movement was launched in 1916 by Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Annie Besant. Annie Besant. You must know that Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Annie Besant both did not launch this movement together. Bal Gangadhar Tilak focused its attention of launching this movement in Maharashtra, Berar, Central Province, Karnataka, etc. Annie Besant launched this movement in the rest of India. What is this Home Rule Movement? All we will discuss. Just I am giving an outline. Sufficient to know that in 1916 Home Rule Movement became a very important movement. And because of the popularity of the Home Rule Movement, in 1917 you must know Annie Besant became the president of Indian National Congress. She became the president of the Indian National Congress, first woman to become the president of INC, and it happened in a place which is called Calcutta session. Next, we have another important event in 1917, because it is during this time Gandhi begins to indulge, Gandhi begins to take part in the national movement. In 1917, we have Gandhi's entry into a movement which is called Champaran. Champaran Satyagraha, 1917. Next, we have in sequentiation something which is called Ahmedabad Mill Strike. Ahmedabad Mill Strike. First is Champaran, next is Ahmedabad Mill Strike, where Gandhi took part actively, and these movements were success. And in 1918, Gandhi participated in another movement which is called Kheda Satyagraha. And these initial three movements, Champaran, Ahmedabad Mill Strike and Kheda, established Gandhi as a leader, established Gandhi's name amongst the masses. So this also happens in 1917. Then we have another important event which happened in 1919. 1919 is a very important event because of the events which followed it. 1919, you must know, World War I came to an end. And World War I came to an end. This is associated with many problems in India, because during this time in Punjab, they passed an act which is called Rowlatt Act. And the consequences of the Rowlatt Act, the problems associated with the Rowlatt Act and the anti-Rowlatt agitation had led to an important event in April 13, 1919 in a place which is called Amritsar, and this is called Jallianwala Bagh. Jallianwala Bagh. And this Jallianwala Bagh is called as Jallianwala Bagh massacre. You must know it is a very important event. You must know what are the reasons for this Jallianwala Bagh massacre. That all we will discuss later. So this Jallianwala Bagh also happens in the year 1919. And you must know, after this Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919, another important event happens which is called launching of something which is called Khilafat movement. Khilafat movement was launched by the Muslims in India, of course with the leadership of Gandhi, means Ali brothers, Muhammad Ali, Shaukat Ali, they were indulged in launching this Khilafat movement, and the Khilafat movement was a very, very important movement because it was a precedent to the next movement which was launched in 1920, which is called non-cooperation movement. Non-cooperation movement again was launched by Gandhi, you must know, on the 1st August 1920, Gandhi launched non-cooperation movement. What are the reasons why he launched this movement, how this movement had happened, we all know, we will discuss that later. So 1920 to 1922, this non-cooperation movement continued in India, and because of an untoward incident which happened on the 5th February 1922, 5th February 1922, an event happened which is called Chauri Chaura. In Chauri Chaura, mob who are opposing against the British, they burnt a police station. So on the 5th February 1922, because of the Chauri Chaura incident, Gandhi had to withdraw this non-cooperation movement on the 12th February 1922. So non-cooperation movement also comes to an end in 1922. What happens in 1922 after the withdrawal of non-cooperation movement? Gandhi is arrested and sent to prison, 1922. And in 1923 what happens is Congress again is confused as what to do after the withdrawal of the non-cooperation movement. So the people in the Congress, they got divided into two. Some people wanted to take part in the government formation, and some people who do not want to take part in the government formation. And those people who take part in the government formation, according to the Act of 1919, diarchy had been introduced. What is this Act of 1919? What is diarchy? We will discuss. And some people who wanted to take part in this diarchy, these people were called as pro-changer. And some people who do not want to take part in the government formation, who wanted to go to the villages and work for the upliftment of the masses, were called as no changers. So the pro changers and the no changers, they differed largely, and you must know the pro changers were led by a person who is called C.R. Das. The majority of the Congress did not like the attitude or the participation of the pro changers in the government. So what happens to be C.R. Das in the year 1923 starts a party, forms a party which is called Congress Swaraj Khilafat Party, or simply called as Swaraj Party. Swaraj Party. He found a party which is called Congress Khilafat Swaraj Party. He founded a party which is called Congress Khilafat Swaraj Party, simply called as Swaraj Party, in 1923, and the Swaraj Party takes part into the elections. It wins many seats, and it is a remarkable event which happened. Next, in 1924, what happens to be Gandhi is released from the prison. Then Gandhi becomes the president of INC. For the first and last time in his life, he becomes the president in a place which is called Belgaum. And in 1925, because of the insistence of Gandhi, an Indian woman, Sarojini Naidu, becomes the president of INC in a place which is called Kanpur session. In 1925 it happens. So 1924 Gandhi becomes the president. In 1925 Sarojini Naidu becomes the president. And it is during this time that in 1925, 1927, there is no great movement which happened, because the non-cooperation movement had been withdrawn, and the Swaraj Party, which was taking part in the elections, they could not achieve what they intended to achieve. That they did not do. So in 1927, you must know, when Gandhi was asked the question, what is the future, what is the fate of the national movement in India, Gandhi said that his future lies with the God, in the prayers with the God, and he is waiting for the result, he is waiting for the answers from the God for the prayers. That's what he said. So in 1920, there was a hopeless situation which was existing, but this hopeless situation was broken by an important, very important event which happened in the year 1927, and this is called Simon Commission. Simon Commission was announced by the British government in 1927. So after 1927, different events happen which ultimately propel India towards the next phase of movement. So 1927 is a very, very important event. So Simon Commission and a sequentiation is going to happen. So we are going to do, starting from 1927, Simon Commission till 1947 in the next video. Thank you.